Hello everyone, it's Jay here from the Training Court podcast, a Pokemon TCG podcast bringing you anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. If you are looking for Pokemon TCG competitive decks ready to go, including GLC decks, please head over to pokedex4u.com. Pokedex4u has a variety of decks ready for sale, with each deck being fully customizable and bespoke to your needs. Use the code Training Court TCG for 5% off your first order. Now let's get on to the episode. Hello everyone and welcome to the Training Court TCG podcast, the Pokemon podcast relating to anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. Jay here, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Andy, Kath and Alex. Hello everyone, you right?
Hello.
Unfortunately we couldn't convince Shay to be a consistent member of our team. He was a fantastic guest, so again I want to thank him for coming on again last week, but back to normal service for this week. Before we've obviously got some more news to announce in the future about future guests, etc. So another week's passed, another week of playing Pokemon TCG and some more news. So going to start talking to you guys about the usual. What have you been playing? Have you been playing anything good? Have you played anywhere fun? Anything exciting? So going to start with Alex.
Hello. I've just literally been playing Gardevoir, which is actually this is kind of. It's kind of unusual for me because you probably always know that I just swap and change like the wind. So if I'm not liking something, I'll swap, and then I'm not liking something, I'll swap. But literally, as soon as Scarlet and Violet came out, I've played only Gardevoir. I think I'm fine with Pokemon. I just stick with one. It was one deck for a while. But anyway, so I've been playing with Gardevoir only, and just literally just been grinding out on the ladder on TCG Live, and coming up a lot against the bugs. So you know the one where I don't know if any of you have come up against this, but when and I don't even know how to like replicate it. I don't know how it occurs, but I'm sure there's it's something to do with putting a Zacian down or evolving into a Gardevoir. But when you put in your energies from the discard, and it just suddenly just crashes, and then you can't do anything, you can't concede, you just have to quit the app. And it only happens when I'm on match point and I've had an amazing comeback, and that's when it tends to happen. But yeah, other than that, I've been playing Gardevoir, and I've been trying different lists. I tried kind of variations of Toad's list after EUIC. But I find that, so I play the Radiant Greninja and I play a Manaphy, and I tried to put in Lumineon as well for searching out the supporters. And it's just with Gardevoir doesn't have much bench space. You want to put 4 Routes down. Gardevoir is good, and Greninja is good because you need for that extra bit of consistency. And then a Mew, I play Mew, which is really good in the deck. Then maybe I benched the Zacian, or maybe I've even started with a Zacian. There's just no room for Lumineon, I find, on the bench, and then you kind of stuck with 3 water Pokemon. If you play Manaphy and you have the Greninja, you want to collapse, then it's too much. I actually in some of my lists I've taken out the Manaphy as well. And just trying to like go gung ho against the Greninjas if they're powering up. But yeah, really enjoying the Gardevoir. And I know you're playing against it, Jay. Maybe we can compare lists. But yeah, I've been one thing actually I did take out, which I think is quite, I don't know, controversial, or maybe against the grain, but I took out my Battle VIP passes and my Nest Balls. So yeah,
that's the core of the deck.
So yeah. So it's you think, well, you need to get set up for like turn 1 with all like your bench sorted like a Miraidon does. But then you don't really, because your game comes in like turn 2, turn 3, and if you're not set up by turn 2, turn 3 with your bench, then you're not gonna have a good game anyway. It's a slow burner anyway, and by the time you get to turn 2, I've usually got a few routes down anyway, and yeah, I just don't feel that I need the Nest Balls. And the only reason I would need the Nest Balls is to find the Greninjas. But I play 4 Fog Crystals, I play 4 Ultra Balls, and I play 4 Level Balls. I don't really feel like I need the Battle VIP passes and Nest Balls. I think it's overkill, because you don't need to set up perfectly turn 1, because
Isn't that why it's so consistent?
It's a comeback. Huh? Why so inconsistent or
No,
consistent?
that's why it's consistent.
No, it's consistent
With
because we have
having
the draw
nest
power.
balls, the VIP pass, and fog crystal.
Well, I have the fog crystals, I have ultra balls, and I have nest balls because the ultra balls are good for getting the thing that's sometimes hard to find are the so annoying that evolution in senses rotates, but the thing that's hard to find is your Gardevoirs, and so I can set up with my routes is one of the best inclusions is a Syrian heavy ball because prizing a routes is so hard. I play 4 research that increases my consistency, and a couple of judges, and I play 2 workers as well because I'm terrified of Muse that play 4 paths, which just completely bricks me. I actually was quite successful. I actually got quite high up on the ladder before I changed my list, playing 2 path in my Gardevoir because that's really good against Gardevoir and also Muse as well. And you might think, well, it switches your own thing off, but I usually attach all the energy I need, play a path, take a knockout. They can't do anything next turn, and then usually I make sure I have a worker in hand. I just worker, take it off, and then do all my Gardevoiring again, and then put another path down again. And it's really good actually. It's really good in the mirror, and it's really good against Vulpix, the Alolan Vulpix that defeated Tord in the final. Because you can just put a path down and then you use Zacian, because then you don't have abilities, so it doesn't work. It works against Alolan Vulpix. So path is actually really good if you don't just path yourself badly, which is what I did with Mew. But
I think we'll see some evolution over the time. We'll definitely see some evolution, and I think it's definitely a deck that will get better as well as the sets come out, and obviously more things come out for it, more supporters, more. Obviously, we know we've already had the discussion last week with Shay. You know, the the Drift Bloom and the Charm, Charm that's going to be busted. Obviously, with Champions Festival as well, and you know, there's a lot of things that'll be coming out, and hopefully some more attackers for it. But definitely,
people will start using tool jammers, and you'll put your drift. I've just thought you'll put your drift leaf and you put your cape thing on. You'll put all the energy. Someone will put a Pokemon in the active with a tool jammer, and then you'll just be knocked out because you won't have the HP anymore.
Yeah, that's the risk, isn't it?
This risk was only a single prize, luckily, but it's good. It's good. Obviously, you've been on the ladder as well, so So Andy, have you been playing much this week?
So I went with you to Geek Retreat on Saturday. I played Lost Box again. So it was best of 3 rounds. And I won 1, lost 2. Matchups were a water deck, which that was what I got a win against. The other one was Gudra, and what was after that? I can't remember what was after that. Oh, it was his dark deck.
Oh, his Hugh and Samurai, I think he was playing, wasn't he?
Yeah, Samurai and Darkrai as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then in terms of the actual deck itself that you were playing obviously you said Lost Box. Was it? Yeah. Did you make any amendments to EUIC list?
No, it was the same. It was the same 60 from EUIC with the Sky Seal.
Cool. No problem. And then, I mean, how are you finding it? Are you still enjoying it, or?
I'm kind of on the fence at the minute. I'm trying. I want to stick with it, but I kind of want to move on to something new. Like on the ladder, I've been playing various decks at the minute. I've just started playing a Gengar VMAX deck, right. Which has got me a few wins on the ladder, to be honest. It just, if you get set up, it just rolls, and you can just take out Gardevoirs left, right, and centre. So,
what does it do? Gengar VMAX.
So
it's swallow up.
GMAX swallow. Yeah. It just hits for like 250,
Right.
But if you're using single strike energy, it's an extra 20 per energy you can accelerate using Houndoom. And you're hitting Gardevoir for weakness anyway, so you don't really need to.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, it's not psychic, it's dark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah, but obviously some of the Gardevoir decks all mixed, isn't it? In terms of you've got the Gardevoir EX, which is weak to darkness. But then you've got the Shining Arcana one, but I know it's not got much HP. But that's weak to steel, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you've got some of the Curliers, it's a bit annoying.
It doesn't really matter anyway because I'm doing 250 each time base.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And exactly. Cards in the Gardevoir deck you only have about 20 HP after you've anything can happen out, a little sneeze.
Pretty much. Kath, have you been playing much this week?
No, not at all. Me and Andy, for those of you that probably don't know, got a puppy last week called Patch, and I was on dog duty on Saturday night while Andy went to play Pokemon.
Trials and tribulations of dog ownership.
Yeah.
So you actually haven't played since the UIC then, have you? So
no.
We need to get you back and playing. We need to get you back playing. Well, as Andy alluded to, I went to him with I went with Andy to Geek Retreat on the Saturday. I played the Lugia deck, the single strike Lugia deck. I think I won one, drew one. I went 1-1-1 basically, and tied one. The tie I played against Lugia Mirror, best of 3, tied the Lugia Mirror, lost to the Gardevoir, but it was a misplay from my behalf, and then I should have potentially scooped a bit earlier to try and maybe get a tie. But basically, I put on too much energy onto a Lugia, so then when he was struggling himself for the Gardevoir deck. So when I actually he bossed up to stall me, he bossed up the Lugia with no energy, and I prized 2 double turbo energies, and I only had 1 gift energy left in my in my deck to turbo, so I couldn't actually physically get him out of the and I just unfortunately just left him to set up. He passed a lot of times, but he was just getting set up, getting more energies in the discard ready for the late game, which is obviously great for Shining Arcana and also Shining Arcana Guardian and also Zacian. So he was able to just, unfortunately, it came quite close. I think we had 1 prize card left, but I potentially should have scooped earlier to try and maybe get a draw, but I thought I could still win it. But and then second game I played, sorry, that was the second game, the Guardi, and then the last game I played a weird water box deck, which basically had Gyarados EX in, Palkia V and V Star, and then also it had obviously a Alolan Vulpix. But yeah, my deck ran incredibly well, and I took the win 2-0. I then also played in my first League Challenge Cup, which I posted on Twitter. So basically played that at Fanboy 3 and played the first one I've ever played in to try and get some CP, which would have been nice. There was 16 of us, and I came 7th out of 16, so top 8 as the way I see it. Rough. Some of it was rough. Again, I played Lugia, and it's just the quality of opponent that I played. So my first game was against Matt Byram, who I know listens to the podcast. He was running Lost Goo, and just for your kind of obviously everyone's benefit, Matt finished 100th in the UIC out of 1,500 people. He also finished 21st in Liverpool Regional. So he's a good player, and I just felt it's best of 1 as well, unfortunately. So yeah, I didn't set up as well as he did, and obviously when you start rolling iron, you just you struggle to take that knockout. And then my second game, I played a Shaman V-Star deck, which actually was quite interesting because obviously Darkness type, my Tyranitar's, and all my dark Pokemon were all weak to grass. So, and I hadn't really I checked for the meta, didn't really tech for it. So that was quite interesting. My third match then was against someone who I mentioned last week, Philip. So Phil D'Souza, who came 17th in the UIC with Gardy. So yeah, I played some good, and just for your information, Matt took top place. He came first in the whole Challenge Cup, and Phil came fourth. So I had a bit of a rough time.
You had no chance.
I had no chance, unfortunately, and especially with Lugia bricking as well. Like Lugia bricking, just it's so frustrating. Obviously, we'll talk about decks later because we're obviously still. I'm in a bit of a transition at the moment, but obviously it's obviously we'll talk about the decks going forward. But yeah, and then my last game was against the Lost. It was an interesting Lost Zone deck, actually. It was one so Tom Saxton, I believe you played him in Liverpool, didn't you, Andy? I think, yeah. Tom. So he played a variation of Lost Box where instead of going for the Dragonite, he actually went for Galarian Moltres V because his thoughts. Yeah, so he called it the Nando Bird Lost Box because the Galarian Moltres reminds him of Nando's. No, reminds him of the Nando's bird. A spicy bird. And yeah, obviously I did win that. Luckily, I just set up in the north, so I Cragalanched a couple of his Comfies and then discarded some of the, discarded a Mirage Gate and he lost zoned one. So that made it tough for him, and he was just obviously fighting back ever since. But it was interesting because obviously he was teching for Gardevoir and Mew VMAX decks. So the fact that he included that, and the fact that Lost Box is able to just include any V you want, really, to be honest, is really, really handy. So yeah, no, it was good. Missed out on CP, but it was still good to get into the cup, and I'm looking forward to hopefully playing some more in the future. And I know that a lot of the guys are just really, really close now to the Worlds invite, which is incredible. From our little store in Manchester, Phil is 40 CP away following his finish in the EUIC, so he's only 40 CP away for his invite to Worlds. And then Matt, I think he was at the end of it because he won. I'm pretty sure he's only 30 away, so a couple more League Cups, and he's got his invite to Japan as well. So yeah, it's really, really impressive. And obviously, like I said, the caliber of players is really good in the Manchester scene, and that definitely was shown in the UIC, especially from me, being in the top 1,500 players in the UIC. I think I made the top 14. I'm not sure the top 1,400 that is. But yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, we've obviously got some news to talk about, but I thought it would still be good to see, because obviously I wouldn't call it the post EUIC hangover, but it feels like I'm in this weird transition myself where I don't know what deck to play. I'm in a weird place where I don't. It's just weird. I'm waiting for the next set.
I think that's just because there's a new meta, really. Because EUIC was on the release of the new set.
Yeah. But we're so close to Paldea Evolved as well, which is a scary thing. We were talking about this before we started recording. We're only 4 weeks away from pre-release again, and it feels like we did pre-release a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't, obviously. But it just feels that way, doesn't it?
Feels like it.
Yes, it definitely feels like it. So obviously, I thought it'd be good to talk about what decks we are playing at the moment, and then what decks we think we're going to play with Paldea Evolved, given that we know what's coming out, etc., etc. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think, Alex, you're pretty much going to play Guardi, aren't you?
Yeah.
Even in Paldea Evolved, are you sticking with Guardi?
I don't really know much about the new decks coming out. I'll build one of them. What's the one? I can't even remember the names now. They've gone from me. Tinglu.
All right.
Tinglu, yeah. Tinglu is one of the Pokemon, yep.
It's one of the Pokemon.
I'm looking forward to Chien-Pao.
Yes, I am with you on that one. 100%.
There's one where there's a combo. I'm being awful right now. There's a combo.
I think you're thinking of Chien-Pao. You're thinking Chien-Pao. You're thinking the combo with Baxcalibur, aren't you?
Yeah, that's what I'm. I'll definitely have a look into that. Chien-Pao, yeah. I'll definitely have a look into that. But yeah, I'm just because, to be honest, the decks like Gardevoir and like Miraidon and the new decks, they've not really had much time to breathe. Like they've had one set, and like Zacian V is probably I can't. I mean, I've not played it for very long, but I can't imagine it's really useful in God of War. And I don't has there been a more useful time for it? It's like the amazing rares. Like you don't know what's going to happen with these cards until like many sets later down the line. so yeah, who knows what we'll be playing in time. But yeah, I think for now God of War, and then I'll see how to iterate it. When Scarlet and Violet was first announced, and I didn't know Dragon Pokemon were going to be omitted, I was well up for seeing what was going on with Regidrago V. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I really do want to play Regidrago V. So yeah, so I really want it. It just needs a consistency card. It just needs something to be able to accelerate energy. If only God of War could just accelerate energy. But I guess it's too slow. You need to be doing it you need to be attacking turn 2 with Regidrago V. So yeah, if only there was a way. There was a way to do it. But yeah.
Arceus.
Yeah, I play with Arceus, but you've got to play 4 Arceus and at least 2 V-Star. And sometimes I just want to play a Regidrago V like toolbox and just play all the dragons and play I can't remember what the dragons are now that I had in my deck, but like I had a ton, and yeah, and not just play Giratina, Gudra V-Star, and Duraludon V-Star and VMAX. Those were the only cards that I was actually just playing. But yeah I want to play Appleton and what was the other one? What's the flying one? Flapple?
Flygon. I've just bought that.
No, Flapple and Flygon, like they've all got their uses. And
Applin, you mean?
Applin? No, Applin's the unevolved one. No, Flygon and it's just a bunch of other Pokemon that just have just interesting uses. And the Pokemon are there. I think the attacks are there. They're fine, but it just needs some kind of like dragon energy or something, like triple dragon energy. That's what
doesn't the Dragonite accelerates energy as well, doesn't it?
Baby Dragonite from Silver Tempest.
Yeah. The Dragonite does.
That's what I've actually just. I've just bought the power up for the Draco deck.
Once you've got one powered up, it's fine. But you need to get the Regidrago V powered up in order to use the Dragonite. Like
I know. That's why it's probably still good to play Arceus. Maybe like
it's the best one. It is the best one.
2 or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's quite funny you mentioned Regidrago because actually it's one of the decks I've been considering because one of the YouTubers that we follow, FTW TCG, Sean, he actually put a video out recently because he took him a couple of days ago because someone called Lava Hawk actually came top 4 in a 100-player online tournament with the Regidrago deck.
All right.
So again, the kind of the deck list, without going into exact, into the exact detail, but it was running a 4-2 line of Arceus, 3-2 line of Regidrago. The consistency was the Purloin and Lipard.
Yeah.
From Brilliant Stars, yes. So Purloin's obviously a dark basic Pokemon, and then Lipard basically has the ability that is refinement. It's light refinement basically.
Yeah, I was using Curliers. That's what I was using when it first came out. I was using Curliers.
And then
so what's the benefit of Lipard then?
Well, it's got more HP. So it's got
100.
Okay. I think it's got 100. Is it 130? 100. No, I don't think it's that much. Is it?
I think it's 100. Bang on.
But still, obviously, it can't be.
I just looked it up.
Yeah. It can't obviously be done. It can't be done straight away by a Sableye. It has to. Sableye can't take 2 of them out in one go. If that makes sense, it has to obviously sprinkle it. But so he was using that for consistency, Arceus for energy acceleration, and then he was using the Duraludon, Garchomp, Flygon V, Giratina V-Star, and Gudra V-Star for the attacks. Obviously, Rolling Iron is such a good ability, a good staple.
So
you've got obviously Duraludon to shred through.
Yeah.
You've got Giratina V-Star just
Giratina.
hit hard,
280.
and then the Flygon. I'm not 100% sure. Andy probably the
I
best.
think it discard all your energy, and you can do like 220 to the bench. I think that's what that one is.
Yeah,
or it's either that's the
Yeah.
or that's the Garchomp, the flag, or either of that, or it does a 160, an extra 160 if it's a VMAX.
If it's a VMAX, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I've been putting it together this week.
Yeah,
have you?
It's
That one?
something
Okay.
I do fancy this deck, to be fair, and it's maybe something we can try out. But I do quite like this deck. I'm pretty sure I've got all the parts apart from Garchomp V and Flygon V.
I've got all the parts. I've even got was Latios or Latias? Are they dragon?
Yeah, from Fusion Strike.
Yes.
Yeah. I even bought one of each of those. I've got every Pokemon you could want to use with that, and yeah, just in case.
But yeah,
because that
then
prevents all damage done to this Pokemon.
Capturing stuff like capturing Aroma, Ultra Ball, no bosses orders, so there's no Gust. Leafy Camo, Poncho as well was used. One Path to the Peak to try and slow people down, and then I think he was using Trekking Shoes again just to get that more consistency. But yeah, we're big fans of Sean at FTW, and also we're big fans of Regidrago, so it's definitely something I'd be interested to see anyway. So and try. But yeah, it's interesting to see that. So Andy, obviously you mentioned Lost Box. Record wasn't the best, obviously, on Saturday. How are you finding it? I mean, are you Lost Box till you die, or are you kind of getting a bit Lost Box mad?
No, this is why I'm looking at Regidrago. I even thought maybe changing it up and going Lost Box Giratina.
I don't think it's a very good deck.
I know, but it hits hard. With the Star.
I think it's the worst. I personally think it's the worst Lost Box deck. And you think about if you think about how the Turbo and even the Sablezard, I just think having that chunky 2-prizer there that takes a lot. You lose a lot of energy to get it hitting, and then you need to get quite a lot in the Lost Zone to take those big chunky knockouts. Whereas Sablezard can do that.
That's what I was thinking. That was the other thing, Sablezard.
Yeah.
Just staying with Giratina, by the way, just quickly. One thing that I think most people do overlook is actually the V. The V is actually one of the best Vs in the game. My Giratina V, I mean, and yeah, the Abyss Seeking, because you have almost like a mini Colress, really. When if you're bricking, all you do is stick the Giratina V, and you can just look at the top 4 cards. You can happily sit there if someone puts a Klefki in the active and attempts to brick you. You can happily just put your Giratina there and start Abyss Seeking. It's got a shred for 160, which is really good. And then of course it evolves into Giratina V-Star to take the unlimited knockouts, basically. I think it's a really good deck, and I think it's just overshadowed by some other decks, but I don't think it's bad by any means.
No, it's not the worst deck out there, but I don't think it's the best. It's not the best Lost Box, but if you're playing against a Gardevoir, then at least you can try and boss up the Gardevoir and just Star Requiem it.
Yeah. No, I actually could do a looking really to see how it did actually, the stats for the
late night
Giratina Lost Box for EUIC. Let's have a look on Limitless statistics. It looks like in the most successful decks, there was it had a 5.7% share Lost Box Giratina compared to Lost Zone, who had a 16.46%.
Oh
yeah, and then Lugia still had 27.22. It's ridiculous. But yeah,
but you've got to also look at the statistics of the amount of like say day twos of a deck versus how many people are playing it, because I can imagine Lost Zone Box is actually probably one of the worst. Like the amount of people that play it versus the amount of people that are able to play it well. Yeah. And I think a lot of people do play it, seeing how well it always places in top 8. Like it always does, as does Lugia. Like it's one of those decks that always will, and people I think will look at it and say, well, I can pick that up, and it's very hard to play. Whereas I think Lugia is
the thing that we were surprised about was how I'm pretty sure that we all before EIC were like, yeah, it's just going to be Lost Box everywhere, isn't it? And yeah, in the end, obviously the top 8 there was only one, so it's it's
pointless anyway, because I think the next, it might be the next set, Paldea Evolved, we're getting a big Parasol ability.
Yeah. There's I've got some statistics for you then. So I've got the win percentage of different decks and their share. So you've got Lost Box Zone, which has a 14% share, and its win percentage is 48%. God of Wars is 45% with a 10% share. Lugia's is 51% win ratio with a 9% share. This is online, by the way, which is slightly different because technically it's the Japanese way of doing it. The round of one, best of one, because you're only playing one game online. Miraidon's got 44, no surprises there, be the worst one. Giratina's 46, so it's kind of a little bit better than God of War even. So it's it depends on the day as well. It depends on whether your deck bricks, but that's just best of one results. So take it with a pinch of salt, I suppose.
Well, I was talking with Chris earlier on today, actually, Chris Marley, who again I think he plays top 500 at UIC. He plays with us at Keep Retreat and Bury. He ran Lugia last night for the league, and he did really well with it. And it just the deck itself, Lugia, it lends itself best for best of 3 because it allows that flexibility. It allows the fact that you might brick the first game, but because when Lugia hits and sets up, there's no stopping it. I mean, even preferably you obviously want 2 Archeops, but if you can even get 1 Archeops and start taking advantage early doors, it's busted, and especially now I think, given that there was a lot of evolution in sense, a lot of quick balls and ultra balls pre Scarlet and Violet, I think the fact that now Luminion and Professor Burnett is pretty much the play. It's just consistently getting 2 cards. As long as you can get a Lugia out and you can get it evolved, and then Luminion to Burnett, you can get yourself loaded up on turn 2 for the knockout. And then the Tyranitar element, Tyranitar's just, it hits so hard. It's phenomenal. I love the Tyranitar. I have the Sleepy Titar artwork as well, so I do like playing it. And then it's also got the single strike attackers. Obviously, it's Stonejourner for Arceus and Miraidon matchups, and then the Yveltal. It's just incredibly flexible. I just feel, for me, it bricks far too much. I really, really, really struggle with it. But then I see people do so well with it, and I know it's a good deck, and I just think, but then like I sat down with Matt, when we were playing, and I just said, I get some is player, obviously some player skill, but like I just showed him my hand. I was like, what are you meant to do with that? That's just pure random, and it was just awful. And it was, I had to pass a couple times, and it's dreadful. But the thing is, again, Luminion, the moment you get a Luminion, a Messagoza, a Luminion, and Professor Burnett, you can start hitting. But it's, I failed my Messagoza, and then all of a sudden I was stuck. So I don't know what deck to run next. I still think Guardi potentially, given the amount of draw, and as I said, Tord just said it's just draw for days. I still think that's potentially the best deck out there, best deck in format, alongside the Turbo Lost Zone box. But
it's a very anti-bricky deck. It's very easy to get yourself out of a brick.
Yeah, definitely. So Kath, you ran Mew VMAX, so you're the resident Mew player in our team. You only did, to be fair, you were before rotation, you were a Clefairy main. and before that you were Jolteon main, which I actually saw Jolteon. Was it potentially coming back? I saw some videos.
Yeah.
Some people were playing Jolteon VMAX.
Oh yeah.
So, what? Obviously, you had a really good showing at EUIC, cut short by the Pokemon Center visit. But what are you fancy playing? In the current format, and are you looking forward to anything exciting in Paldea Evolved, or just whatever comes out?
I might pick up Miraidon again. Played a few games with it online, but then seeing how other people are fitting in, like the Jolteon VMAX, which that was my deck before Clefairy became my deck.
They're playing Jolteon VMAX in Miraidon. Did you say
with the Raichu as well? Like you can hit those big numbers if you have to, but some games similar to Lugia, some games if you don't get it, you've got no chance.
Yeah, no, definitely. It sets up so well. Like, I can't think of a better, unless you get double VIP pass, I really can't think of a better deck that sets up so fast. But then that's it.
You've got to kind of get some in there to like keep the consistency going with the draw. Really, maybe you kind of have to sacrifice a bench space for maybe like a Greninja or something like that, or something that can draw.
But if you need those electricity generators, though, you need them to hit. To take advantage of Miraidon's deck and obviously all the VMAX, etc., you need those electric generators to hit. If you're discarding energy, you're going to whiff. Your chance of whiffing's surely
That's why I think maybe it needs like Mew or Celebrations Mew.
Yeah.
For the ability.
It's just pure bench space, though, isn't it? I personally always wanted the Fluffy one. I wanted the Fluffy with a Greninja ring. I thought consistency is better than the DPS. Sorry, DPS. Than the increased damage from Lecky VMAXs. But you're having those Fluffies on the bench is just you need them Manaphy because you need to protect yourself from Rad Greninja. And all of a sudden your bench has gone from 2 Miraidons and some a Raikou and a Lecky VMAX, and it's gone to 2 Fluffies for obviously the discards, Greninja, Manaphy, and all of a sudden you're struggling for space, and I think that's the real problem with that deck. But people make it work. I think it's a set away from being really top tier, that deck.
I think it might be a bit more than that, to be honest. I don't know if there's anything coming out that helps it in the next set.
Yeah, we need to have a look at that and obviously reevaluate that. Obviously, I think that'll be something we'll look at obviously just before. Yeah. Obviously, in between pre-release and the actual Paldea Evolved coming out, we'll obviously have the full deck lists and we'll have all the everything. We'll probably look at the biggest changes to the decks, the current decks, cards to bring in, and also decks to look forward to. So we'll definitely look forward to doing that. But sorry, Kath, are you pretty much set on Miraidon, and you're discarding Mew already, or is there still?
No, but I don't think I would get rid of Mew. Like Mew's the one where if I'm ever going to be not sure of what to play, I'll just play that because it's got everything that you could ever need.
Draws for days. You need the draw engine of Mew in Miraidon somehow.
Yeah. No, definitely so.
And then it'd be the best deck in format.
Definitely. Well, it's an interesting time. I think we're going to obviously. I think we're going to record some tabletop gameplay this coming weekend, and then we're going to mess around with some decks and just have a look and see what's best, because I really need to figure out what deck I need to actually play, because every time I have an existential crisis every time I go to play Pokemon now, and I'm like, what do I play? And it always seems to be Lugia, and I'm sure I said after Liverpool, the moment Scarlet and Violet comes in, I'm not touching Lugia, and I have played it so much since, just because that energy acceleration is unmatched. It's unmatched. But
Yeah.
in terms of Paldea Evolved, Chen Pao, and Baxcalibur is something I'm really looking forward to, and it's something I really want to play. I was quite a big fan of obviously water decks, and I played Palkia when it first came out, and I was a bit sad that kind of died such a quick and slow death, really. Actually, it went so popular, and then they tried to bring it back with Kaora and VMAX, which didn't. It had a couple of okay finishes in some regionals, but overall it didn't really do much. So I'm looking forward to some water coming back. But then does that give Miraidon some more scope to come out now? So that'll be worrying. But we'll definitely see, and we're looking forward to it. It's an interesting time. Always is coming up with obviously a new meta and new sets coming out. So talking of new sets coming out, I think we best probably move on to some news. So obviously Paldea Evolved is by the time of the release of this episode, I think we're only 5 weeks away from release, or is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks away from release? I can do maths. So 6 weeks away from release, which is scary, and obviously 4 weeks away from our pre-release. So yeah, it's an exciting time, but we've also got some news about the next set after Paldea Evolved. So PokeBeach posted on the 24th of April that they could exclusively reveal the August English set will be named Scarlet and Violet Obsidian Flames. The logo hasn't been released yet or revealed, but the set will officially release on August the 11th, with pre-releases taking place from July 29th to August the 6th. So already we're talking about pre-releases of the next set after Paldea Evolved, which is scary already. But obviously this is the one that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago now, maybe even months ago, where this dark Charizard's obviously it's this dark type Tera type Charizard is going to be in that set. So looking forward to it. I think it's a cool name. I think it's a really cool name, to be fair. And I believe it comprises the set will comprise of cards from Japan's July release, which is Ruler of the Black Flame, which again is a really cool name. So it's
Dark Charizard, isn't it?
It will be, yes. Yeah. And then we've also apparently July's 8 EX starter decks should also be moved into that deck to make the set a bit bigger. Obviously that's the Pokemon 151. Apparently they're putting some of those back into that deck as well. So I don't think we're getting Pokemon 151, which is actually just kind of pre-released now, I believe. I saw on some websites such as Japan to UK.com they've started taking pre-orders now of the 151. And I believe some of the EX starter decks from that will be put into Obsidian Flames. But interesting. It's the first Darkness type Charizard to be released since the Gold Star Charizard. Which, can anyone tell me when that was and what set it was?
Test your
knowledge of really expensive
2005.
Cards. Okay.
2009.
Kath?
Is she 2007.
She googling it. And does anyone know the name? I don't know if you guys know much of the names.
It's the Delta species, isn't it?
It was a Delta species, yeah. So none of you got it right. So it was released in 2006, and the expansion was
year
EX Dragon Frontiers. So it's the first Dark type Charizard in nearly 20 years. So I'm looking forward to that. Another quick trivia question: in Dragon Frontiers, there was 2 Delta type species and 2 Gold Stars. One being Charizard Gold Star, being Dark type. Can anyone guess what the second one was?
Umbreon.
Was it?
No, it wasn't Umbreon.
Was it Venus? No, not Venus. Lucario?
Not Lucario. Kath?
Bulbasaur.
No, it was Mew. It was a Gold Star Mew.
It's all about the story of that is like the scientists working on Mew's DNA in the Holland region.
That's it, yeah. So in the actual lore, scientists from the Holon region were working in a secret research tower trying to find Mew. An experiment went wrong. An energy wave escaped from the tower, surrounded the forest. Then Delta species Pokemon appeared with types that weren't naturally born with. So yeah, I think it was pretty cool actually. I quite like the fact that there was some lore behind like just the actual TCG set release, as opposed to that. So okay, last question, I promise. Given that it was a Delta species type, what energy type was Mew?
Electric.
Was it
Electric, no.
grass?
Wasn't grass. Kath, down to you again.
Probably not dark, is
it? Fire.
Fairy.
Close. It was water. It was water.
Oh, close.
Yeah.
Well,
fire and water. Yeah. Well, fire and water. But usually you think of the fire and water together. To be fair, so fire and water. Yeah. And then it was quite interesting. I'd like to see because that was their kind of versions of Radiance. To be honest, because that was the Charizard was a shiny Charizard. It was a shiny Mew. So that was our kind of Radiance. So I do hope that they're starting to do a little bit more than that. Obviously, the Tera type kind of a lens to different types of obviously typings, but still not as cool as the Holon series. So yeah,
are we not getting another shiny set? Did I dream that one? We're getting a shiny set, aren't we?
Are we? I vaguely remember something. I'm sure we talk about this, but I do vaguely remember something. Yeah. Yeah. I think it might have been just announced for Japan.
Like Shining Fates.
Yeah.
They'll get shoved into a set somewhere, won't they?
Yes, yeah, definitely will. Yeah, no, 100% will. So yeah, that's a really cool name, really cool set. Looking forward to seeing it and releasing it. I think obviously Charizard, it's going to be such a chase card for people. Don't know how playable it's going to be. I mean, the Charizards have not been massively playable of late, although when Brilliant Stars came out, V-Star was quite good actually, to be fair. It hit really hard. It took a lot to get it going, but with Magma Basin,
like 320 for 5 energy or something.
Yes, yeah, basically, yeah. So it hit really, really, really hard. So yeah, but it's something to note that the past 2 sets, the third set has always had kind of like flames or kind of like something, kind of like so. The third set of Sun and Moon was burning and shadows, so fire and shadow, and then you had Sword and Shield. The third set was darkness ablaze, and now the third set of Scarlet and Violet is obsidian flames. So it's always the
obsidian's black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so darkness element, flames. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm sure maybe someone like over at Pokemon just has like a list and they just have 2 lists, one for like darkness acronyms and one for fire acronyms. Yeah, mix it together and see.
What's that in South Park, the manta rays, where they're just putting balls into it? That's how Family Guy is made.
That's how Family Guy crazy. Yeah, exactly. So before we start looking ahead to Obsidian Flames, obviously Snow Hazard and Clayburst released last Friday over in Japan, and surprise, as we discussed in the actual episode, Iono was obviously the big chase card. The secret rare Iono is such a massive chase card for all the waifu lovers out there. And given the fact that they split the set into 2 in Japan, Clayburst is the set that has the Iono card on, and it's actually to the point now where there's no Clayburst available anywhere to buy in Japan. There was pictures circulating on Twitter of lines and lines and lines of fans for midnight releases. The booster boxes themselves are selling for up to 10 times their retail price online, and that was just for pre-orders, purely because of Iono. And it's actually gone to the point where Pokemon have actually had to release a statement about the availability of Clayburst. So their statement, which came out on the 26th of April, was thank you for your continued patronage. Regarding the shortage of products announced on Friday, April the 4th, we would like to inform you of the Contents of future responses. Number 1, we are preparing for reshipment of the following products as soon as possible, which is expansion pack Snow Hazard, expansion pack Clay Burst. And number 2, we are considering made-to-order production of the following products. Details will be announced around mid-May, and that's expansion pack Clay Burst. So, yeah, it's absolutely mental how much and how much in demand that is absolutely going to be. Do you reckon we're going to have? Obviously, we saw that with the Miriam card as well, but not as substantial as Clayburst, because Iono was pretty much, everyone knew that was going to be that the new Marnie and the new waifu card. Do you reckon it's going to have an impact on Paldea Evolved? Do you reckon that's obviously? I know that's going to be the chase card.
No,
but do you reckon it's going
to
be?
I guess it wouldn't have a bigger impact on us because it's 2 sets in one, so we're not going to have a shortage of sets. I don't think. I think they'll learn from this and try and ramp up a bit for us when we get Paldea Evolved.
Yeah.
They did say that for products other than the above, we will strengthen production and supply regardless of notice. We sincerely apologise for the difficult situation for customers to purchase. We look forward to continued support of PTTG. Yeah, so we're aware of that. But yeah, no, it's not shock horror, but no surprise there. So by the way, are any of you guys going to be trying to get the Iono card apart from trying to sell it to fund our decks?
I'm not. I mean, I'm not chasing it. I mean, it'd be great if we got it, but
I mean, you ended up
getting. It looks as good as the Miriam special art rare.
You got 2 Miriam. You ended up pulling 2 Miriam secret arts. Yeah. Now that's a very expensive card in Japan, but over in England and Europe and America, it's not had the same heights. I think.
No.
I think pre-release it did. I think someone in our local shop sold it for £200 on pre-release event. You're talking about £60 now, aren't you? You know, £60 now at this point in time. So, it's definitely interesting. So, but yeah, okay. So then moving on then to the next bit of news. There has been another collaboration, which is the collaboration with the artist Yu Nagaba. So I hope I'm pronouncing that. So he actually did a collaboration with Pokemon quite some time ago. We did a special box with the it was in Japan again only, special box, and it had his very specific art style, and it was Pikachu. So again, I don't know if you guys seen this. I think obviously we'll share it on screen to show the set. However, the new one that's been announced is it's all the evolutions. It's going to be absolute chaos. So it's releasing May the 24th. It's going to have a long card box, rubber play mat, a set of card sleeves, and a deck box featuring all his artwork. And then obviously he's got the cards. So you've obviously got Eevee, Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Espeon, Umbreon, Leafeon, Glaceon, and Sylveon. And yeah, if you guys don't remember what he's done, he also did the artwork for the Ed Sheeran song Celestial, which also was in collaboration with Pokemon. So, and he also did the artwork for that, and then also did something did some art in the game, in the video, for it as well. So none of us are massive Evolutions fans, are we? We're not like. I mean, I like them. I'm not going to say no, but I mean,
Jolteon's one of my favorite Pokemon. But other than that,
I don't know. Yeah, probably Jolteon for me as well.
Yeah, I think Jolteon's my favorite out of the early the Gen 1s, and my Gen 2s is definitely Umbreon.
Although in the video game, it's definitely Sylveon.
No, in the video game, it's Umbreon. Actually, in Scarlet and Violet, Jolteon's really good if you put an Ice Terror on it. It's really good. Anyway.
Yeah. So again, that's just a bit of news. I don't think any of us really. Obviously, we primarily focus on the TCG side in terms of the competitive side. I don't think these cards are going to be massively competitive. Looking at Jolteon, Justin Basil again with the translations, an absolute MVP. Stage 1, Jolteon, 90 HP. For a lightning and colorless Thunderthang, 60 damage, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's Active Pokemon is now paralyzed, nothing substantial. Umbreon Darkness HP is 100. Dark and 2 colorless, 90 damage. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. But obviously, you know, it's a stage 1 Pokemon. I don't know if they'll become massively playable. But yeah, we'll obviously we're saying that we were talking about Champions Festival. We didn't think that would be playable, but look at it. Look where we are now. So you never know. So I'm not going to say it and caveat it. I'm going to say you never know. So get one of everything, and you'll make sure you've always got the cards ready. You have to buy it on the second-hand market.
Yeah, well, look at the amazing rares. They came good right at the end of the format.
They did, yeah. That was again a bit of a shock, really. I sold my entire set of them for less than 40 quid for all 9, and then obviously when Lugia came out, I had to go and then back them back again. And I think
try and rebuy them.
Yeah.
For double the price.
For the Raikou and Yveltal, I mean, I managed to get them before the prices went excessive, but like the Rayquaza went up to, is it 9 to 12 pounds or something like that? Yeah. At one point, and then obviously the Raikou was used, and it was all because obviously they were all using Lost Box and Lugia, and it became obviously the meta. Just in the same fact that we saw obviously Regieleki VMAXs going for up to £30 before the UIC. I'm hoping they've dropped now because I still need to get one. But I paid £3 before 2 months before the UIC, and then they were going for 30 a week before. So yeah, we'll obviously see. But yeah, so then moving on to our next section. I believe Alex has a card for this, so it's one of our favorite parts of the show. It's the RTFC side. So read the flipping card. So Alex, you said you've got one this week, one that you've card that you weren't really aware of, but one had to.
I was aware of, but I never really took much notice of it because I don't think it was super playable. But yeah, until now, I guess. So it's Panic Mask. And so it reads, prevent all damage done to the Pokemon this card is attached to by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have 40 HP or less remaining. So yeah, not a particularly playable card up until I guess you're playing against Gardevoir, where any Pokemon that you're wanting to attack with genuinely has less than 40 HP remaining if you want to maximize the damage with the energies from Gardevoir EX. So yeah, I didn't read it properly, and I thought it meant that prevent, if you've got 40 HP or less remaining, then you take less damage than from. So yeah, I just thought it meant that you had to get your health down, which actually would be broken in Gardevoir, because then you just get your health down with the energies, and then you can't. Yeah,
you definitely have 4 of them in.
Yeah, that would be insane, actually. So yeah, thankfully it's not that, because that would be too much for anyone. But yeah, so I was playing against an Arceus deck, like an Arceus toolbox, and he put it on, and I just I did my Gardevoir thing. I got them all I got him to 20 HP so I can maximize the damage, and it did nothing. So yeah, so it was good. Well, the card was against me because I didn't read it, but yeah, the card is. I think it's.
That's why it was good in Ditto, because you'd use Shedinja to knock into the opposing Pokemon, so it had 10 HP left, and then it couldn't attack you next turn.
Yeah.
No, definitely. No, well, yeah, it's a good card. I've seen it used a couple of times as well. But I just think we're going to see now new and interesting combinations coming out. That's what I love about this kind of format. Like, emergency jelly. No one was really using that until let's start it. Let's start doing it on Gardevoir. You've got all these cards that just come out of nowhere, really. So it's really, really, really interesting and really good. That's why I try and keep as many cards as possible, but I only have so much space. So, right, okay. Well, I think that's the end of the episode. I just want to again thank everyone for joining us, and I want to thank Andy, Kath, and Alex again for joining me again this week. As we mentioned, earlier on the episode, we have obviously some news in regards to our next guest. So we can now officially confirm that our next guest joining us is actually someone we've mentioned today on the podcast. So Sean from his channel FTW TCG is joining us. We're just nailing a date down now. It could be next week, it could be in a couple of weeks. So we're just getting that sorted. But the moment we know anything, we'll obviously put it onto Twitter and let you guys know. And a really good segue there. If you want to follow us and get all the latest information, you should definitely be following our social media channels. So we have a Twitter account, which is at Training Court. We also have an Instagram account, which is at Training Court TCG. If you want to listen to the podcast or watch the podcast, the best place to see us is always on YouTube. So again, go onto YouTube and we're at Training Court TCG. We also release on Podbean, which is the trainingcourt.podbean.com. That way we're able to go onto the Spotify, again, type in Training Court TCG, and also Apple iTunes podcast, again, Training Court TCG. Again, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, and I want to thank my fellow co-host for joining me again to talk rubbish about Pokemon for another week. We'll see you all next week, and thanks for listening.